City Sports back here for our Week 10 predictions, and I do want to apologize for not getting out my Week 9 reactions. Just been a really hectic week, a lot going on, so apologize for not getting that video out, but we're going to be doing my Week 10 predictions here, and I do plan on putting out a video tomorrow also reacting to the NFL trade deadline. We're going to break down those trades. Also want to talk a lot about the Saints firing Dennis Allen. Like I said, I know we're a little late, but just had a lot going on this week. I got to roll through this one pretty quick. Let's get into my Week 10 predictions. So starting off tonight on Thursday Night Football, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. And if you guys remember last year, we had probably around this time last year, we had Thursday Night Football between these two teams. And that was the game in which Joe Burrow ended up getting his season-ending injury. So, as an NFL fan, we really hope that doesn't happen. As a Steelers fan, I would actually hope the Bengals win this game because we don't want Baltimore, inching in on our division leadership. I think that this is going to be a really good game as long as, both guys stay healthy, obviously. But we know the first game between these two teams earlier in the season was one of the best games of the season thus far. It was an absolute shootout that went into overtime with the Ravens pulling it out. So I could see a very similar outcome here. The Bengals defense is really bad. The Ravens defense actually has not been performing that well. I think the Ravens, they just get the reputation that they're a really good defense, and obviously they were a great defense last year, but when you look at their numbers this year, the Ravens defense has actually really been struggling, especially in bigger games. So I could 100% see a shootout happening here. If you're a longtime listener of the channel, at least for this season, my biggest gripe with the Ravens is they know their MO. They know their blueprint. When they win football games, it's usually on the back of Derrick Henry, who I think is poised right now to win Offensive Player of the Year. So I think it is completely foolish of the Ravens to not fully utilize Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry is going to be the key to them winning in this game because it takes the pressure off Lamar. When you give Derrick Henry over 20 carries, the Ravens have won every single game in which Derrick Henry gets over 20 carries. He averages about 14 carries in their losses. So the Ravens, it's pretty simple what you have to do to win. Just feed the king. So give me the Ravens there, but I think it will be a good one. The Bengals, we have talked about time after time on this channel. They're a scrappy team, and they usually, in the Joe Burrow era, they get better as the season goes on. They get more competitive. And I've even started to see Joe Burrow enter the MVP conversation because he has the stats to back it up. It's just he doesn't have really the record as a team. But if he gets the Bengals back on track here, gets the Bengals vying for a playoff spot, he'll be in the conversation. I don't think he'll win it, though. Historically, like the last, 8 years, I think it was, MVPs were on one-seeded teams, and I don't think there's any possible chance the Bengals will capture the one seed. So Burrow can be in the conversation if they start winning, but he will not win it because you have to, like I said, you have to be on a one seed historically to win MVP. So now we can go to the Sunday slate of games. We, of course, have an early one. This time not in London. We're in Germany between the Giants and the Panthers. I'm going with the Giants here. I know the Panthers just beat the Saints, but I think that one actually said more about how bad the Saints are as opposed to how good the Panthers were. And the Giants, I still think they're a little better than what their record says. Malik Neighbors is a superstar right now. Anytime he's on the field, the Giants will have a shot to win a game. So really crappy game. I don't know, if the whole point of growing the NFL, if that's the point of doing these international games is to grow the league and get more international fans a part of the NFL, why the fuck would you send over this shitty of a product? I don't understand that. Living in the U.S., obviously, I would rather the shitty games be on early because I don't want to wake up for them. But it's at the same time, from a business perspective of the NFL, if your goal is to grow the league, why would you pick two of the shittiest teams in the league to go over and showcase the league? That just seems kind of weird to me. So next up we have, I'm going with the Giants. Next we have Niners going to Tampa to play the Bucs. Give me the Niners here. They got the momentum on their side. They've been a really, really up and down team this year. I haven't really known what to think about the 49ers. They've been so wildly inconsistent, but the biggest piece of this game is Christian McCaffrey is probably going to play in this game. It has not been 100% confirmed, but it's looking likely that Christian McCaffrey will play in this game against the Buccaneers. And we all know, of course, the Buccaneers are racked with injuries. Of course, they're 2 stud receivers, which really just changes the whole complexity of their offense. And I still think their offense has been pretty capable even without those guys. I think that goes to credit the coaching staff and, of course, Baker Mayfield. But they can't beat the 49ers without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Maybe they can, but I just don't see it, especially with Christian McCaffrey returning. Give me the 49ers in that matchup. Then we have Falcons at Saints. Give me the Falcons, of course. I picked the Falcons to win this division. And you guys know my thoughts on the Saints. They're a dumpster fire. They're on like a 7-game losing streak. They just fired Dennis Allen, and I do have a lot to say about the firing of Dennis Allen. But I won't get into that in this video. Like I said, tomorrow we'll be I'll either put out like a one big video about all the trades and Dennis Allen or 2 separate ones. But yeah, the Saints are a dumpster fire right now. They're a mess. Give me the Falcons pretty easily in this one. It's just not even really close from a roster perspective. Next, we have a divisional matchup between the Broncos and the Chiefs in Arrowhead. The Chiefs are 8-point favorites in this game. Give me the Chiefs here. I have not picked against the Chiefs a single time this year, and I do not expect to do that for the rest of the season. Will they go undefeated? I don't know. I think they're I don't know. I was going to say, I think they're plus 650 to go undefeated this year, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Because typically would usually be a lot higher odds than that, but that just kind of shows you how insane the Chiefs are. And I still don't think the Chiefs are even playing that good, and yet somehow they're undefeated. And that really just comes down to show you Patrick Mahomes still is the best player in the league. He might not have the best stats this year, but in the biggest crucial moments, he just makes the winning plays. That's what separates Mahomes from every other player in the league. You have the best coach in the league, the Broncos. I think their record is extremely inflated. I kind of attribute that to Peyton. He's going to steal a couple games because he knows what he's doing. He's a good coach. He's not my cup of tea. I kind of think Sean Payton's a douchebag, but you cannot deny the fact that he is a really good offensive play caller. I think he's definitely overrated when people start to put him in all-time great coach conversations, but Sean Payton is a more than capable offensive play caller. But I still don't really know what to think about Bo Nix. Like I said in earlier videos, I'm going to have to wait till the season's over to really give a bold take on Bo Nix, because he'll have games where there's something there, and then he'll have other games where it's he's not ready to start in the NFL. So I'll have to wait on my big Bo Nix take towards later in the year, but give me the Chiefs in this one. They're at home. They're 8-point favorites. Not a big surprise. Next, we have Bills at Colts. Give me the Bills in this one. I don't know what to do with the Colts. They just had their worst offensive game of the season against the Vikings, and the whole philosophy behind benching Anthony Richardson was Joe Flacco is going to help us win football games now. We're trying to make the playoffs this year, so that's why they made the switch from AR to Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco when he was the quarterback in that game against the Vikings, they had their worst offensive game of the season. So that kind of calls into question, is a 40-year-old Joe Flacco really the option? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, were yeah, this is 100% the right move. But after that performance, I get it. The Vikings defense is really tough to play against. But your worst offensive performance of the season, the second you benched Anthony Richardson, is not a good look. So I don't really know what to do with the Colts. There are parts of this team that I really like. I think they had a great draft. I love their coach. But I just don't know what to think of the Colts, especially in this matchup against the Bills. The Bills, I know exactly what they are, and that is an elite football team. Give me the Bills here. Probably should crush the Colts, just given on how bad the Colts looked in that Vikings game. Next is a pretty big one, at least for me, with my Steelers coming off the bye, going down to Washington to play the red-hot Commanders. So earlier in the year, right before the season started, I broke down the entire Steelers schedule, and I said every season there's at least 1 or 2 games where we just blow because we overlook an opponent, and the reason why I had this one highlighted is A, I didn't think Washington would be this good. I don't think anyone thought the Commanders would be as good this season as they have been. And B, we play our first divisional matchup next week. So I could really see, with just looking at Tomlin's MO, this could be a game we overlook because we're more focused on the upcoming divisional matchup. But I don't know if that's the case now because of how good Washington has been. So I don't know if this is a game that Tomlin will overlook. And historically, Mike Tomlin teams perform very, very well when they're underdogs. It's whenever they're favorites is whenever the Steelers struggle. But as underdogs, they usually play up the competition. I think the momentum is with the Steelers. They've looked really, really good with Russell Wilson. They're 2-0 under Russ. Overall, 6-2. They have the best defense in the NFL. I'm going with the Steelers here. You could say it's a Yenzer bias for sure. I'll own that because I haven't picked against the Steelers yet this season. It will come eventually. Trust me, when we get into some of these divisional matchups. But when you look at Washington, it's not like I'm not trying to take anything away from Washington. I think they're a great team. I love Jaden Daniels. He's a superstar. But when you look at the teams they've beaten, it's not the most impressive of teams. And this is now going to be a real test for Jaden Daniels playing against the best defense in the league. And I think it really will give him some trouble. And on the flip side of that, Washington's defense is actually really bad. It's been masked by the fact that their offense has been so explosive. Their defense really isn't that good. I know they picked up Lattimore from the Saints, a really, really good pickup. I like that move a lot for them. But like I said, I'll talk more about the trades tomorrow. But I'm going with the Steelers in this one. I just think our defense is going to be a real test to the rookie Jaden Daniels. And I think Russ is more than capable of carving up that Commanders defense. So give me the Steelers in that one. Next, we have the Vikings going to Jacksonville. We don't really have to spend any time on this. Give me the Vikings. I mean, you have a playoff contending team, the Vikings, going against a dumpster fire right now where they're basically going to clean house this offseason. So to me, there's really not a whole lot of purpose in talking about the Jaguars unless we're at the end of the year and we're reviewing their season and how big of a fucking shit show it was. So I don't want to spend too much time on this one because it doesn't deserve a whole lot of time. The Vikings should absolutely slaughter the Jaguars. This should be a bloodbath. And if the Vikings lose this game, that's going to look really bad. And I think it's going to show you that the Vikings have been a little overrated, because Sam Darnold's starting to look a little shaky in these games. And I'll just say that. We'll leave it at that. But Sam Darnold had that red-hot start, and now he's starting to get more and more like the old Sam Darnold. Not that he's, terrible, but we're starting to see some of those old tendencies come back with Sam Darnold. So they should win this one. If they lose, it's kind of a big deal if the Vikings lose this one. But give me the Vikings. Next, we have the Patriots going to Chicago to play the Bears. Give me the Bears. They lost in really embarrassing fashion last week against Arizona. The Bears are such a frustrating team for me because on paper, their roster is extremely talented, but I think it just boils down to the fact that their coaches don't know what the fuck they're doing. When I go back to my video I made after last season, one of my highest viewed videos on this channel, and I talked about what the Bears need to do this offseason, my number one thing on that list was fire Matt Eberflus. And I said, you cannot roll into Caleb Williams' first year with Matt Eberflus as the decision caller. It just makes absolutely zero sense. And if you guys know, you guys probably don't know Danny Parkins, but he is like a Cowherd associate, and he's starting to talk on FS1 a lot. He's from Chicago. He made a really, really good point that I want to give him credit for. He said, when you look back at the last three quarterbacks for the Bears, the same thing has happened to each of them, and the Bears have done a really, really poor job in setting up their young quarterback in terms of giving them a foundation to help them grow as a young player. You look at Mitch Trubisky. He came in. The head coach was John Fox. After his first year, that guy was fired, and they replaced him with Matt Nagy. Mitch Trubisky didn't work out. They brought in Justin Fields. He had 1 year of Matt Nagy, and he was fired, and they brought in Matt Eberflus. Now, Caleb Williams' first year, Eberflus is going to get fired this offseason. So that's your last three quarterbacks that you've tried to develop. You're giving a failed head coach in their first year. So now in their first two seasons, they have to learn two new playbooks. They have to learn how to adapt to two different coaching styles. It's just a very, very poorly ran situation. That's just terrible management. Terrible, terrible management. Matt Eberflus should have been fired this offseason. That was a no-brainer. Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator, I don't think he knows what he's doing either. He should go as well. So the Bears, they should win this game, but if they lose to the Patriots, kind of like how the Jets lost to the Patriots, it's really going to be a big signal of this Bears management doesn't really know what they're doing, because the way they lost to Arizona was a complete and total embarrassment. I'm rolling with the Bears here, but I don't feel great about it, just given the momentum of this team. Next, we have Titans at Chargers. Again, this is another one we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on. The Titans, even though they won last week against the Patriots, they're just a mess. Like two shitty teams going at it. The Titans win. Doesn't really impress me a whole lot. I'm going with the Chargers here after they had a really good performance last week as well. Their defense looked incredible in that game. So give me the Chargers after crushing the Browns. Next, we have a big divisional matchup, or at least it would have been a big divisional matchup, but that is Eagles at Cowboys. It would have been a big matchup because it's, big rivals, big brands, but Dak is not playing in this game. So it's not going to be a very competitive game. And I wouldn't have picked the Cowboys even if Dak was playing, but he at least would have made it somewhat entertaining. It's not going to be entertaining. The Eagles should come out there and just fucking put the death punch in the Cowboys. Like, their season's already over, but this will be really just the final nail in the coffin of the Cowboys. The Eagles, I think, make a big statement win in Jerry World and just fucking cave in the head of the Cowboys. Next, we have Jets at Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals in this one. If you guys have listened to my picks this whole year, you know that the Cardinals have been the toughest team for me to predict this season. I think that I've only gotten 2 of their games right this year. So we're going into Week 10, and I've only picked the Cardinals in the correct way twice. So I don't know. They're so wildly inconsistent. It's kind of crazy that they're sitting on top of the NFC West right now at 5-4. Really crazy. We'll have to talk about that more in another video. But I'm rolling with the Cardinals just because of how much of a fucking mess the Jets are. If you're a listener of the show, you know exactly how I feel about the Jets. They're a fucking disgrace to the game. So I cannot, in good faith, pick the Jets against any sort of a competent team. So give me the Cardinals. Then we have the Sunday night game. The Lions going down to Houston to play the Texans. Potential Super Bowl matchup? No. Give me the Lions here. For me right now, I think the Lions are my favorite to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC. So I think very, very, very highly of the Lions right now. And the Texans, their momentum's really going in the wrong direction. C.J. Stroud has played himself out of the MVP race. I think he had a really good start to the year, but as his receivers have gotten banged up, CJ's looked really bad, like really, really bad. So there's a chance. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but Nico Collins was rumored to be back for this game. I don't know 100% if he is, but even if he is back, I don't care. The Lions are just so unbelievably stacked from a roster perspective, and Jared Goff playing this elite of football. Give me the Lions. Then we have Monday Night Football, Dolphins at Rams. Give me the Rams here. I think it'll be a little more competitive than what people think. Tua's getting back. He's getting more into the thing of it with the team. But the Rams, to me, they remind me a lot of last year's season, where I believe the Rams started off 3-6 last year. Then after that, they became the hottest team in football, and I think they won 5 or 6 games straight and made it to the playoffs. That reminds me a lot of what the Rams are doing this year. They got off to a really bad start because they had a collection of injuries to key players early in the season. But as the year's going on, they're getting more and more healthy. And we saw in that Vikings game, when they got Puka and Cooper Kupp back, their offense is one of the most lethal units in the league. So I'm going with the Rams here. I think it could be a competitive game with Tua getting more integrated back into this offense, but I have to roll with the Rams. I just think that offense is so lethal. So that's been my picks. I'm 96-49 going into Week 10, so hopefully we have another good week here. Let me know down in the comments some of your favorite picks for Week 10. And if you made it this far in the video, really appreciate you listening. Please like and subscribe.